So, good evening, beautiful people, and welcome to Tuesday evening meditation from Vajrayana Institute in Ashfield. I hope everybody's well and happy. And actually, there's a lot of really wonderful things about staying home. And one of them is that we have access to all kinds of information on the net. I mean, it's endless. And so I hope that you all get some benefit from this evening's meditation. So usually we begin with breathing meditation and then we move on to some analytical meditation. So just in case there are some newbies watching, I hope the long-term students will practice patience while I go through the basic meditation posture. So the most important thing is that the spine needs to be straight, but not like a little tin soldier, not rigid. A nice straight spine. The body needs to be relaxed. We shouldn't bring any tension into our meditation if we can possibly avoid it. So there are different ways that you can sit while you're doing your meditation. The ideal one, not for grandmothers like me, is sitting in full lotus posture, which means that you're sitting on the floor with your legs crossed, with your right foot on your left thigh and your left foot on your right thigh. But I haven't been able to do that for many years. The main reason behind that posture is that it's very, very stable. However, it's certainly not compulsory. And as I mentioned, the most important thing is to have the spine straight. So it's perfectly okay to sit on a chair. And if you're sitting on a chair, sit to the front of the chair and don't lean on the chair, on the back of the chair. I mean, if you have a problem with your back, well, that's a different story. But our bodies are designed to hold us up. So sit more to the front of the chair and have your feet flat on the ground. Now, you might need a cushion so that you're comfortable. You don't want to have your feet dangling because that's certainly not comfortable. You can also meditate in the supine position, which means that you can lie down on the floor, flat on your back, with your arms just a little bit away from your body and your palms facing upwards. This is very good posture if you have back problems or you're feeling unwell. However, it's important when you adopt this posture for meditation that you have the thought, not that, I'm going to sleep now and I'm relaxing is okay, but certainly not, we're not going to sleep. If you have some discomfort in your lower back, you can put a cushion under your knees and that should alleviate that. So let's talk about the rest of the body with regard to the posture. So ideally, we should have our eyes slightly open. This may feel quite weird if you're not used to meditating in this way, but you can try it out and see how you go. So the idea is that you lower your eyelids, but you don't close them completely. You also tuck your chin in just a little bit, and then your gaze falls to the floor in front of you. So this is a very relaxed gaze. You're not focusing, as if you're trying to see the pattern in the carpet. It's a very relaxed gaze, a bit like when you're daydreaming. So the eyes are relaxed, the gaze is relaxed. Then let's move down to the mouth. So you rest your tongue behind your top teeth. And you can have your mouth just a tiny bit open, and that's very useful because it stops you from clenching your jaws. As far as your hands go, there are two options. You can place them one on top of the other, the right on top of the left, and with the thumbs lightly touching. And they just rest in your lap. If that's not comfortable, you can put your hands palm down on your knees. The most important thing is that you find a posture that is comfortable for you. So before we move into the breathing meditation, let's just do a body scan to make sure that we're relaxing the body and that we're not holding tension. So starting at the top of the head, bring your awareness to the top of your head. And breathe normally and naturally. Moving down over the forehead to the eyes, relaxing those muscles around the eyes and relaxing the eyes themselves. Moving down over the cheekbones to the mouth, relaxing the muscles at the corner of your mouth. Checking that your jaw is relaxed. Relaxing the throat. Moving to the back of the head, the base of the skull. The tops of the shoulders. Any time you notice that there is tension, attend to that tension. And as you breathe out, imagine that it leaves your body with the breath. Travel down the spine, all the way to the base of the spine. Slowly, gently. As you pass the shoulder blades, check for any tension there. Coming back to the tops of the shoulders. And moving down to the elbows. Remember releasing and relaxing with each out-breath. From the elbows, move along the forearms to the wrists. From the wrists to the hands, the front and back of the hands. All the way to the fingertips. Releasing. relaxing, letting go. So move to the chest. Again, having that sense of openness, spaciousness. Relaxing the diaphragm, the belly, the pelvic area. So now we're at the hips, traveling down the thighs to the knees. Knees to the ankles. Ankles to the feet, soles of the feet, the top of the feet, and all the way to the tips of the toes. Just take some time to be present in your body. Feel the contact with the cushion or the chair. Feel your hands resting on your lap or on your knees. Feel where your clothing is touching your body. Feel safe, secure, grounded. So before we actually begin the breathing meditation, now that we're settled, let's take some time to open our hearts and set a very, very positive motivation for doing this meditation. Just think that everybody on the planet wants to be happy and doesn't want to suffer. In this way, we're all the same. So open your heart to yourself and to all others. And have the thought that whatever benefit I get from this meditation, may it flow on to absolutely everybody I come into contact with. And at this time, most of these people will be on the internet, but still, we can send loving thoughts and good wishes. Thoughts are very powerful. And those of us who are Buddhists and have committed to the Mahayana path, we can touch base with our bodhicitta motivation. So take some time to have a very sincere, open-hearted motivation before we start. So as we move into the breathing meditation, our task is to keep the awareness with the breath. And of course, thoughts are going to come up. It's natural for us to have thoughts. But our task is simply to notice the thoughts. Don't beat ourselves up. Don't judge yourself. Just notice that you've been distracted and bring the awareness back to the breath. We normally focus on the breath entering and leaving the nostrils, and do your best to be aware of the whole of the in-breath and the whole of the out-breath. Nothing else. If your mind feels particularly agitated and you're finding it difficult to keep your focus, you can move your focus to the rise and the fall of the abdomen. Another technique that helps is counting the breath. So we try to go from 1 to 10, and every time we lose track, we go back and we start again at 1. If we get all the way to 10, we come back and we start again at 1. So counting in and out, 1. In and out, 2. In and out, 3. Remember, the main focus is the breath, and the counting is like watching those signs on the side of the road that are showing you the distance to the nearest town. But the main focus is the breath, and the counting is just an aid, a little bit like trainer wheels. So bring the awareness to the breath. Don't try to control the breath in any way. If we leave the body alone, it definitely knows how to breathe. If you feel more comfortable with your eyes closed, that's perfectly okay. The purpose behind having your eyes slightly open is to let the light in. Because so often when we close our eyes, it's because we're going to sleep. And of course, meditation is about being relaxed, but alert, not sleeping. So merging the awareness with the breath. Nothing else to do. So by merging awareness with our breath, we can connect with the joy of being in the present, not dragged back into the past and not rushing into the future, just being here now. So have a little stretch, have a sip of your tea. Before we move on to an analytical meditation, I'd like to just lead you in a 5-minute meditation, a very simple version of what the Tibetans call Tonglen, which means taking and giving. And I think this is a very useful meditation to do in the circumstances that we find ourselves in. So it's very simple. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to think about all our friends, all the people out there, wherever they may be, in our country, in our town, in the world. There's a lot of people who have fear. There's a lot of people who are very confused. There's a lot of people who are very sad, who are very bored. So let's connect with our compassion, because we have a limitless source of compassion at the very core of our being. And as we breathe in, let's imagine that we can take away everybody's fear and pain and agitation and boredom. And as we do that, what the compassion does then is that it destroys any selfishness that we may have. And on the out breath, we imagine that everybody is free of their fear and their pain. So it's very simple and it's very beneficial. Let's just try that for 5 minutes. So breathing in, taking on with opening your heart, connecting with your limitless supply of compassion, and taking away all the suffering and pain of others. And as we breathe out, imagine that they're free of that and experiencing peace of mind. Just 5 minutes. Starting with your friends and your family, and then spreading out. breath, taking away people's fear and anxiety. Out breath, imagine them receiving peace of mind and serenity. And feel very, very happy about that. Wonderful. So we may feel helpless, but by sending out positive energy, I think we definitely make a difference. So I'm going to move on. On Tuesday nights, I have been leading some meditations on emptiness. So don't freak out. You can't be around Buddhism, particularly Tibetan Buddhism, for very long without the word emptiness coming up. So I'm really not qualified to teach on emptiness, but I would like to introduce you to just get you to put your toes in the water and begin to explore what it means. So emptiness definitely doesn't mean nothingness. Emptiness means that everything that exists is empty of existing independently. And we don't normally even think about this. We don't think about how the I actually exists, how the self actually exists. So let's just explore this a little bit. There's a quote here from a famous Japanese Roshi, and it goes like this. Of course, the bird we see and hear exists. It exists, but what I mean by that may not be exactly what you mean. So this is a great meditator making this statement. However, our Western culture does not generally question the substantial nature of the self. The self seems self-evident, as it were, and inarguable. We may find it absurd when somebody suggests that perhaps the self doesn't exist. There are trees, there are birds, there are people, and there is me. So Buddhism is not disputing the basic reality of the existence of different objects or beings, but there is more subtlety to this question than we may at first realize. In fact, significant problems arise if we take at face value the existence of I, capital I, as suggested by our culture. So let us explore what we mean when we use this word, I. Suppose I were to ask you, how old are you? You might answer promptly, oh, well, I'm 37 or whatever. Then let me ask, what colour are your eyes? And again, the answer comes very easily. My eyes are blue or brown or green. And these answers arise naturally and immediately. But if we look at each of these responses in detail, we discover something odd. If you say, I'm 37, you really mean this body is 37 years old, don't you? You don't necessarily mean that all of you is 37. Are your thoughts that old? What is the age of the mood you're feeling right now? Perhaps this mood came on today, an hour ago. So when we say I'm 37, I is taken to be the body. This tendency to equate oneself with an aspect of our experience is called identification. In this case, identification with the body. When you say, my eyes are blue, however, now the eye is not the body, eyes, but the owner of the body. My eyes. I, as owner, is a different form of identification. Feel into this sense of I as the owner of the body. After all, it's my body. And inquire, where is that owner located? you able to pin down an owner? Is the owner inside the body or outside the body? Is the owner all of the space inside? These are some of the questions the Buddha pointed to 2,600 years ago. Which are you really? The body? Or something separate that somehow owns the body? These are two different things. Is it possible to be both? We can find the same confusion around the mind. If you say, I am happy, you are equating I with happiness, an emotion or a state of mind. And then later on you might talk about my joys and my sorrows. Now you are the owner of the emotions. These are two more ways to self-identify. Are you the emotion or are you its owner? Can you be both? Then there's I as the observer. This is one more place that the I lays claim. I is sometimes felt as the observer of the whole show. It can certainly feel as though there's a small entity located inside the head, just behind the eyes. And this being is the center of everything. It watches sights and it hears sounds and it smells odors and it thinks thoughts and it feels emotions. This I seems to stay the same over time, through many, many changing experiences. It appears to accomplish this by remaining separate from what is observed. It feels as though this observing I was with us in primary school and is here today and will be just behind our eyes until we die. The identification here as the observer is, in reality, taking as I the activity of consciousness, the faculty of mind that receives or knows the sense impressions that arise moment after moment. Consciousness may feel like a permanent, stable aspect of our experience, but the Buddha said that consciousness arises and passes with each new sense impression. So this is another way the I is equated with an aspect of experience. We have now found 5 meanings for I: as the body, the owner of the body, the emotions, the owner of the emotions, and the observer. Which are you really? You might reply, I'm all of them. I'm my body and it belongs to me. I'm my thoughts and feelings and they belong to me. And I'm also something apart from them, watching it all. I'm everything you've said, all wrapped up in one. We have now arrived at the conventional understanding of the self. In this culture, when we talk about what I am, it's this whole package. But if we look closely, the absurdity of conventional understanding becomes apparent. How many selves are you? Are you a self as your liver and also as the emotion of compassion? Are these the same or different? Are you a self as your political view and also as the consciousness that heeds a bird call? Are these the same? The same I or different? Are you a self who is changing every moment as the body does, with its pulses and respiration and digestion? Or are you an ongoing self who is the stable observer of the changes? Are these the same I or different? So I'm not going to tell you the answer, but these are just a few things to think about. Think about the way we use the word I, and what does it mean? I hope I have activated your curiosity here. The most important thing when we talk about the emptiness of the I or the emptiness of the self is not to make the mistake of thinking that the I doesn't exist. If you think you don't exist, just pinch yourself. You definitely exist. But it's very, very, very important to investigate how you exist. And that's what emptiness is all about. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'll let you go now because it's almost time for Gisela's teachings, if you want to tune in for that. But thank you for being with me, and let's dedicate the positive energy to the happiness and well-being of every single person on the planet. Send out love and compassion, and be well and happy. Thank you so much. Oh, and by the way, there's another class tomorrow. I have another class tomorrow, 10 till 11:30, and that's about using the principles of Buddhism, our understanding of Buddhism in our daily life. So feel free to join me if you're able. All the best.